Here at the NASA headquarters on Edwards Air Force Base on May 13th. This hangar is filling up rapidly with family members, guests, and workers at NASA who have come to name the facility after one of their former employees who worked here for many years, Neil Armstrong.
Chief, go ahead and turn on the hydraulic pump to low. Pressure on low. Ready to run the spectrum?
We're ready. 54,000 pound upload. Pacing on left 4, 4,500. Needles are up. We're releasing now.
Certainly a big part of the answer, both because you have really good weather here this time of year and you have some really nice objects in the sky.
I'm personally excited about having Dream Chaser here at Dryden. I can't think of a better place to be testing a vehicle like this than bringing it right out here to the Edwards Dry Lake bed, which is very historic in its own right.
3, 2, 1, release.
have enormous affection for this place, its people and its vision for the future of the world of flight. And I believe that whenever I have the privilege of visiting here again and years ahead and ask someone, what's new? There'll always be something.
At the outset, I'd like to introduce and welcome our special guest today. Welcome to the Dryden family. Eric Dryden, Hugh Dryden's grandson, with his wife Lisa and their children, Logan, Matthew, and Tristan. The Armstrong family. Miss Janet Armstrong, she was part of the exciting X-15 years here at the center with Neil Armstrong's sons, Rick and Mark Armstrong, Mark's wife, Wendy, and their children, Andrew and Kaylee. Neil's sister, June, and her husband, Jack Hoffman. And our special guests, Grace Walker Weissman and the Joe Walker family, Miss Judy Dana, and Bill Dana's daughter, Jan Sebring. Welcome to our distinguished guest, U.S. Representative, the Honorable Kevin McCarthy of California's 23rd District. Maybe I'll go to the end and we'll do one applause. Representing U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein, Ms. Elizabeth Delgado Seelman. California State Senator Steve Knight of the 21st District. NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden. NASA's Chief Technologist David Miller. NASA's Associate Administrator of Small Office Business Programs Glenn Delgado. And the NASA Ames Deputy Center Director Lou Braxton.
Well, it is my distinct pleasure to be here. You know, you can't drive across the lake bed without getting a smile on your face or a tear in your eye. I have a little bit of history out here, and I wanted to introduce someone who's special to me. We have Colonel Larry Hoffman here, who's one of my dearest friends. I grew up with him out in Edwards Air Force Base. He's United States Air Force Test Pilot School Commandant here with his wife Jill. And we know a little bit about growing up at Edwards, just like the Armstrong family did, and the Walker family, and the McCabe family, and the Dana family. This is where history is made. I'm going to use a line my father made in 1997 on the 30th anniversary of his flight and the 50th anniversary of Yeager's flight. Was these are the good old days today. I think people believe that things happen in the 50s and 60s and nothing happens anymore. And he was saying these are the good old days. Edwards is where it happens. Nobody exemplifies that more than Neil Armstrong. From what he did in probably one of the most successful platforms that NASA's ever had to his one small step, Neil Armstrong made America. And I say that not lightly. What we did in the 60s and what he accomplished put us on the map. It showed what American ingenuity is, and it showed what we were doing. So I say that thank you, and thank you to Congressman McCarthy for making this happen. This exemplifies this area, and I appreciate everything that NASA does for us. In that note, I would like to offer a resolution from the California State Senate in honor of the Neil A. Armstrong Flight Research Center, and I think that it is fitting that we name this after an X-15 pilot. I have a little bit in my heart for all those X-15 pilots, but also for someone who took that small step and that giant leap for America.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce United States Representative Kevin McCarthy. He's our representative from California's 23rd District.
Thank you very much. I first want to thank David, not only for making this happen today, but for the leadership of NASA. He's never forgotten where we come from. You know, he takes the legacy of the past and applies it to a changing future, and that's what we're all looking for. I also want to thank Kathy Hart for the Antelope Valley Board of Trade. They kept this fire burning for 9 years. And that takes a great deal of responsibility to make happen. I want to honor that Charles Bolden's here. We thank you for your work. We thank you for what you're going to do in the future. We appreciate you coming here and seeing the capabilities that we have as well. A special thanks to State Senator Steve Knight. You think about the legacy that he knows, about where he's been, and what he continues to carry on. He's been a great part of making this happen. To be here today, it took an act of Congress. You know what the little sad part? I had to pass it twice. We got it through the House one time, and the Senate, in the Senate wisdom, kind of ran out of time. So we passed it again. But with everything you hear about Washington, I'm very proud to say, nobody voted against it. Most overwhelming vote you get. So we're here today to honor two men, their amazing accomplishments. The Neil A. Armstrong Flight Research Center and the HU Dryden Aeronautic Test Range. We all know the history of both men. But what's most ironic when you sit here and think of Neil Armstrong, you wonder in somebody's life, did they make a difference? Well, it's not just everybody in America, but everybody in the world. Where were you July 20th, 1969? Everybody was watching. Everybody was wondering. His famous quote, but then when he put that footstep down, and he made that footprint on the moon, it's still there today. The legacy that lasted. But what we're here today, before he put that footprint down on the moon, he put a footprint down right here. You look at the two instruments next to him. Conceptual. He was a part of it before we even got there. The 2,400 hours that he flew, 7 years that he was apart. But to me, that he never forgot where he came from. He knew what he was doing for mankind, but he knew what he was doing for everybody else. But in that video that we saw, I'm very taken by what he said on the 50th anniversary of 1996. When he talked about NASA, when he talked about his days here. He said, "My years here were wonderful years. Dryden was a most unusual place. Its enormous curiosity, wonderful intensity, an unbelievable willingness to attempt the impossible here." If you wonder what our quest is today, to never lose sight. To be able to get the quest of the impossible. And that's what still drives us here today.
Aeronautics and Space Administration. His 34-year career with the Marine Corps included 14 years as a member of the NASA Astronaut Office. After joining the office in 1980, he traveled to orbit 4 times aboard the Space Shuttle between 1986 and 1994, commanding 2 of those missions. Charlie was confirmed NASA Administrator July 2009. Charlie.
Thanks very much, David. It's quite a pleasure to be here. And Senator Knight, thank you very much for your comments. We were just saying, I said, I didn't realize your dad had been an F-15 pilot. He said, oh yes. And we have some friends in common who, Senator Knight probably has some real good memories, like my son reminds me, why can't I do what you used to do? You probably say, why can't you do what your dad used to do? It's because your dad and me and other people, we were crazy. And so we try to keep you all from doing the things that we did. Congressman McCarthy, I cannot thank you enough for this entire crowd, for your tenacity and really leading the charge on bringing us here today. As you said, this took an act of Congress, and so be it. But I thank you for coming out. Members of the Dryden and Armstrong family, Thanks to all of you for being here with us today. This is your day. I also want to take an opportunity to recognize one of the members of my staff who was overlooked, but that's Associate Administrator for Communications, David Weaver, and he plays a very key role. David, at least raise your hand. Yeah. And then the other person who I don't think left, Marie, where are you? Marie Fullerton. Right there. There's Marie. I want to acknowledge the presence of Marie Fullerton, the widow of Gordon Fullerton, who was a mentor of mine when I first got to Houston in the astronaut office. And Gordo, he did what not too many people do and what not enough people do. He left the astronaut program, came back to his roots, came back out here to Edwards and Dryden, and continued his legacy. So, Marie, it's really special to have you here with us today. Thank you very much. Today, I'm joining everyone else because it's our opportunity to recognize two icons of aerospace engineering and excellence. From Hugh Dryden's experiences and work with airplanes when the field was really in its infancy, to Neil Armstrong's work as a test pilot and historic footsteps on the moon. These two helped pioneer a field that sustains us today in ways that could hardly have been imagined. Hugh Dryden was considered an aeronautical genius who pushed the boundaries of high-speed flight, beginning in 1931. Dryden's expertise at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, or n.a.s.a, and then NASA, established America's leadership in space and organized the research that led to our first steps in space. His organizational leadership was at the root of Neil Armstrong's most spectacular flight achievements, from the X-15 to his 1969 first footsteps on the moon. In President Johnson's eulogy for Dryden, he said, and I quote, "Hugh Dryden's death ended nearly 50 years of single-minded devotion and effort by one of the most distinguished civil servants this country has ever known. Beloved by all his associates and respected throughout the world, Dr. Dryden, more than any other man, led us into the age of jet aircraft and space exploration." And I quote, "I extend my warmest wishes to the Armstrong family and all those gathered at the Hugh L. Dryden Flight Research Center in Edwards, California, as it becomes the Neil A. Armstrong Flight Research Center. With one small step, Neil Armstrong captured the hope and resolve of our nation, making a historic milestone for mankind. He helped renew America's commitment to innovation and exploration. As he and his colleagues at NASA pushed the very boundaries of science and space, they showed us that anything is possible with enough drive and imagination, and that the sky is no limit for what we can achieve. A true American hero, Neil reflected the best of our nation's spirit, not only in space but also here on Earth. He served with unwavering patriotism in the Korean War and applied his talents to public service at NASA. His leadership in business and academia empowered so many to use science as a means to reach their dreams. And his powerful example continues to challenge us all to set our sights on new horizons.
Okay, here he comes. Here he comes. Get your cameras rolling. Get your cameras rolling. Here he comes. This guy, Brian? Yep.
Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold.
This is one of the test planes out here in front of the NASA headquarters at Edwards Air Force Base. And we're just wrapping up, naming it after Neil Armstrong.